extra size out of it.
Yeah, generally you get a slightly better average. Yeah.
Better average.
Yeah.
So remember that as well.
Yeah.
And you get a lot of big fish. You get a lot of 80s plus on trawling, and trawling really tiny lures. Like, that's what Wilson trawls.
Small.
This thing, I pass it around as bulldog.
Yeah.
Very popular. You're catching 90s on that and 80s on that. So you've got a couple of real small lures in your bag, so don't be scared to put them out and try it. Okay. But years ago, when Peter Cool was doing the Flathead Classic many years ago, that was the small lure for him to trawl. And he trawled monster ones like, if you remember, those man stretch 30s and on 25As, which are mackerel lures. He'd trawl those, but he's trawling out at 8 metres of water out off the seaway wall. But no one does it these days, no one. Probably still works. But the average size lure that we sell for trawling is going to be like this little size here.
Yeah, 50 to 70 mil. It's a pretty good all around. Yeah.
And it gets down around 2 metres.
Yeah.
That's the most popular lure we sell in that sort of style, in different brands. But you need to have probably 3 different lures. You need to have one that's just a shallow one that goes down like 1.5 meters, smaller profile. There's one to trawl up on the flats on the high tide. So you trawl on the flats, you need to find a run where there'll be a lot of weed everywhere, but there may be a white like an airstrip down amongst all the weeds, or there patches of weed every now and then, and you try and trawl up and down that patch. Now you need to go out on a good day and mark all that on your plotter, because most days it's not clear, it's blowing in the lead, or sometimes the water's dirty, and it shits. You can see it on the sounder, but you don't have time to look around trying to find the patches amongst the weeds. So if you get a clear day, you can just drive straight down it, put your lines out there and trolley rods, and mark it on the sounder, then you go back to it any day and fish it. So we have all those troll lines over our sounder everywhere, so you can't need the spot, all of a sudden there's all lines on the sounder on GPS. So have that's one good thing. When you're up on those flats, then you might be trawling water that's 2 foot deep. Trawl speeds between about 2 to 3 k's an hour, kilometres an hour is what it
Yeah, ideally knots, 1.6 to 1.8 knots.
which is about signal.
That's
Okay.
it.
Yeah. And the most I'd ever trawl would be 4 kilometres an hour, which is about 2 knots, but that's only because the current will be quite strong. All the winds that be backslide with the current. Trawling with the current is always better than trawling against it. You will get fish against it, particularly at that start of the tide. When it's not running too hard yet, you can go up and down until it starts to run too hard one way. Then you're better off burning it back up again and go back down again. The other thing too is when you're up on those flats and it's only 2 foot deep and you catch the fish, remember you have to get back off there.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're stuck there. Okay. And many times we've had to leave fish as water's deep, and good ones too, because we know we're going to get stuck. The next pass we nearly can't get out, right? And it's a bit scary because you've got to be 7 hours on there. Yeah. And a few guys have done that too.
Yeah. So the hard part is a lot of these big flats that we're trolling at high tide, they're like a dish.
Yeah.
So there's always a hard edge on the outside that you've got to get over, and on the inside it's good. So you can troll around and you might still be in relatively deep water or just hit in at low tide or like last 2 hours of that run out, but you won't get back out of it. You're essentially landlocked.
Yeah,
so,
entrance is gone.
Yeah.
You could do what I've done a couple of times, is do a run and jump, or you can get up on a plane and do this New Zealand type thing, go to the sandbar. Yeah. Stuart doesn't do that.
Never buy a second-hand boat off Dougie. They're well tested.
No, they're not. But anyhow, so remember all these points we're telling you, please. And now, the shallower the water, the shorter you run your lures. For 2 reasons. One is the fish are right there. They're right there. Michael Green, that works with us, won a photo class of his dad 5 times or something. He'll troll how far close to you?
Just behind the prop, within a metre. Yeah.
So
you see fish come up and eat it.
The lines, the lures just there with light things behind the boat. I personally can't do that. I like to go back a little bit further.
Yeah.
If I'm in about, say, half a metre water, I'll trawl one probably about 6 to 8 metres back. And remember, if you cast it out 15 metres, you're guaranteed to get weed on straight away. So you've got to wind in 15 metres, get that weed off. But if it's just there, it's just 1 or 2 turns in there, get the weed off back out again. It's a lot closer, a lot easier. And as soon as you start winding that lure digs down, you get more weed, right?
So you don't speak to fish?
They actually, I think it actually turns them on.
Yeah.
They come over and check it out, stirring up the bottom, whatever. I don't know.
Well,
And they see the little fish swimming in there. They just nail it. Yeah.
so a lot of times when I've got up on the flats and you'll see a flaming...
Yeah, they shoot out.
Yeah.
They
You
shoot.
think you buggers stop there, Steve.
Yeah. If you see that happen, we'll talk about it later. You cast the lure at it.
So how far are they going when they'll, you know, you...
Oh, 20 metres maybe.
Yeah, a lot of, like it depends. If the water's a little bit cloudy, I don't think they travel as far. I think if it's really clean and they're real spooky, you've got the sun above your head, I think they travel a fair way. But like just touching on how close we run lures, obviously a lot of the time as well, line angle's a big thing. Like we've always said, hold on to the rod when you're trolling and keep your rod tip down closer. It's to get more out of your lure. But in this shallow water stuff, you don't want it to dive deeper. So we'll actually hold our rod up. Or like if you were trolling out of a tinny, you could put in the rod holder and have it straight upwards. It's going to restrict your lure from diving so deep.
I should have said the same thing. So if I'm watching my sounder and it's a metre deep, I've got my little 1 metre diver that just getting the bottom. I've got the rod tip down low like that, and I might just give it a bit of a jerk forward to pull down a bit more. And then I'll watch the sounder that goes up to 0.5, I'll lift my rod up with it. Until it goes back down again, I'll drop it back down again. It's just like you're going with the sounder sort of thing. With your arm. And that's the way to do it. And also, if you're doing a run where it's maybe on a steep bank with stream, I said try the shallow side, I like the deep side. But when you go back the other way, it doesn't work that way. But we don't swap sides of the boat. Here's the deep side, the shallow side. But when I'm trolling, if I've got the 1.5 metre lure on and it's maybe up to 2 metres deep, what I'll do is I'll sort of like work my rod forward until I pull it down a bit deeper,
And let it go.
and then I'll
start
flick
again.
it back so it goes back and it pops up a little bit, goes back and pops up. And I always nail it at that quick pop up time. So actually like 1, 2, 3 stages back. Then I'll go a bit long, I might hit it, go another 20 or 30 metres, and then I'll do the same again. So work it forward, and then float it back, sort of thing. So it's two wiggles sort of thing.
Yeah, I do a bit of everything. The biggest thing is when I work a lure, yes, I'm making the lure move, but a lot of the time it's shedding weed. So you're always going to pick up little bits of weed and things like that. So if you are too blasé or too slow with your working the lure forwards, the weed's going to stay on the lure. So I might crack it on the way. So I might pull it a little bit, like crack, and drop it back. Or I'm always moving it more erratically. So the other thing is as well, when you're trying to select a lure for trolling, it's always better to have one that's buoyant, that floats. Because if it does swim into weed, when you set that lure back, it'll back out of the weed. So if it's on its bib and it's stuck around the line, a lot of the time, even when you do crack it, it's stuck there pretty good. When you set it back, it'll actually just back out of it. So it's just all about making your lure work more when it's in the water. You want to spend more time in there and less time taking weed off and fixing tangles and stuff.
So if it gets hooked on the hook, it's hard to get the weed off, but it's wrapped around the lure. So you take a little twig and it'll disperse the weed most of the time. Okay, so we've done the flat. So I look for bait. That's the other thing. Look for bait. The bait flipping around and whatever around, so meter deep, and you see maybe a pelican working on an edge. Head over to that area and troll along that area because there'll be flatheads feeding with the bait and the pelicans.
The other thing is wind eddies. So off a bank, if you're fishing, just say it's a big flat and you've got a mangrove line on one side of it, you'll get little wind eddies where it might funnel through a mangrove gap or something like that and create it looks like a little whirlpool-y type thing, all the water's disturbed. That'll actually bring bait or blow bait into that area. Fish this big aren't real strong. Generally they're swimming pretty high up. So it'll blow them into that area and it's a great ambush point for them to feed. So, yeah.
Colour-wise, of lures for trolling, I like all colours. If it's clear water, I like a fairly natural colour, or a prawn colour. If it's dirty water, I like whites. I like orange, red, green, chartreuse. Yeah, that sort of colour. I don't know what you used to do, but
Yeah, very similar. I
Yeah.
think
pinks are not too bad. Pinks
Yeah.
are very popular, but everyone trawls pink. That's why it's popular. Okay. This, I think the green. If everyone trawl green, you catch when fish on green, right?
yeah.
So it's sort of
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think everyone, it's the colours that you're going to get a lure one day and you're going to catch a few fish on, and that's going to be your favourite colour. So you're going to run, just say it's purple, you're going to run all purple lures, and you'll say to all your mates, purple's the only way to go. And then you might speak to Dougie and he'll say green's the only way to go. But I think the biggest thing is colour definitely does make a difference. I look more at, if it's dirty water, I like a block colour, something that'll stand out. So a solid colour, nothing transparent. Nothing too shiny. If it's clean water, I'll fish more shiny stuff and more maybe a transparent lure here and there, only because it looks more natural, as Doug was saying before. Yeah.
So I don't know if you know about bibs, how they work. Not very good shape lure.
I thought the top one was going to be a duck, but anyway, that's alright.
Okay, so the more angle the bib's down, the shallower the lure goes. Okay, the more it goes up this way, like that, the deeper it goes, and the more space on that bib in that same angle, the more deeper it goes again. So I'm going to do is I'll show you a couple of lures here to show you how that happens. So we'll pass around this one here first. So that's a shallow one. Yeah, actually that one there.
Something like that. So yeah, the bib's very small, so very small surface area, and it's very steady.
Yeah, and then you've got, actually there's two here from this description. Then you've got like that second one I told you about, that's sort of like, so that first one get down probably about maybe a metre.
A metre tops, yeah.
Metre tops, half a metre to a metre. This one probably get down about a metre and a half, maybe two. And then this little bad baby, it's the same body but a bigger bib. Probably down about 3. Does that all make sense? If you didn't know that, if you do know it now, that's it. And we can look at a bib straight away based off on the profile and say, okay, that's going to go about 2.5. Even though it might not say. Because it can be on the area of the bib, so the bib's quite a little skinny bib, but quite big. It's not going to go that deep, so it hasn't got much water pressure to pull it down. But it's quite a big spoonbill. Same length and everything, but wider, it's going to get down a lot more. There's a lot more area to pull it down. Does that make sense? Cool. Okay, rattles versus non-rattles. Look, some have rattles, some don't. I don't know if there's a big difference. Do you into rattles, Stu?
Look, I'm not a massive rattler. I prefer like a solid lure or one without a rattle. I don't know why. I don't mind soft plastics with rattles in it. If I'm throwing a hard body, I like a rattle in it. But when it comes to trolling, I think it's kind of, you're trying to, it's a great tool to use when fish are hard to catch. So when you've cast a bank for the last hour or whatever, the bite's turned off, you can chuck a couple of troll lures out and catch fish. Nearly straight away. So I don't know why, I don't know how it's different, but I just think that more silent approach is a bit better. Yeah.
A couple of big selling, like bigger lures, and we call these, that used to be big lures, like that size, but these days that's a big lure. Okay. That sort of thing's really good for trawling in that sort of 2 to 3 metres. So when you get low tide, right, you pretty down the flat, you fish the flat, and the water's drained out the bank, and some of those banks will go like from here to there, and it's sand, and here's 8 foot deep. They drop down like that. So you can't really trawl with the lures anymore, so it doesn't get to the bottom. And you can't go too close because you'll hit the side of the bank. So you need to go to a bigger profile and a slightly bigger bib and something like that type of thing. So that's what I think is good for trolling about 8 foot of water along the steep edges of a lot of these mud banks in that scenario. Years ago, that was probably this, the guys that Samaki brought out sort of copy of the man's lures, the stretch 10. And that was like the biggest selling flathead lure back in the day. That and its little brother, which was a stretch 5. That's what everyone used for flatties. And we would sell, before the Flatty Classic back say the 90s, we'd sell 300 each. But there was an option of all the Japanese lures back in those days. Yeah. And then probably our biggest selling profile these days is what we call shad profile. They're just a really good flathead lure. So doesn't matter what brand it is, shad style, the bigger style, is the gun, I with the gun shape. Yeah. It is probably one of our biggest cells anyway, but I think you got one of those in your bag actually. You might have one of those other bigger ones too. But the shad style body is very popular. One of my go-to lures is the Strike Pro. They do a really good shad as well. It's the shad profile here. These work really good on Flathead. They do a whole bunch of colours. They're extremely good. Rapala do a great range. You've probably heard of the Rapala Max Jack Raps, Jack Deep, sorry. Is that the big one? That's a very popular lure and it gets down quite deep, about 3 metres.
Yeah, they're about 3 metres.
Yeah, so a little lure that gets down really deep is really, really good as well. So some days, if the bait fish is really says tiny, you need to have tiny lures. And if they're all mullet like that size of gar, then you need that first couple of them around. So if you try little lures and everything's eating gar and mullet, you may not get a hook in. Does that make sense? So try and match the hatches, I always say.
Yeah, the other thing is these go around, you'll notice that generally they're a pretty small lure, but the hooks are very small as well. So you can't go using the same rod that you might throw a jack lure with, or like a big soft plastic or a big hard body, because the hooks are so small a lot of the time. Yeah, a lot of the time they're just caught in those little meaty parts of the mouth. Just lip hooked, you know. So I don't even know how they stay in, but they generally stay in. So as I was saying, a soft rod's quite important. So something that when they lunge, the rod's going to bend with it. So don't fish too tight a drag, thin line, light leader. You're really going to get the most out of that lure in its way of swimming. You'll make a 3 metre diver on the packet, maybe dive at 3.5 metres. So you can get a little bit more out of it just by fishing a little bit lighter as well. But that soft bendy rod, very important for this stuff. Yeah.
And then a lot of lures are sometimes the same colours but different, slightly different body shape. But there are certain colours that work all the time, no matter what really brand it is. And some of those colours that you need. So getting back to how many lures do you need to have in the boat, right? I'd say probably three that go under 5 feet and 3 that go under 10 feet. Does that make sense? So yeah, you probably got some there, that's right here. And colour-wise, look, I'd have one would be that sort of bright colour, okay? One would be a dark colour. And dark colours are very, very good. Even though you wouldn't think it work in the dark, dirty water, it's a silhouette. They look up at it, they see it, and it's visible to them. And they hit it, they smack it. And third colour would probably be white. White of some type.
Yeah. Or something.
Well, like you got white and green, and then white, green, white and orange, white and pink. This white looks really well. So dark colour one, fluoro type, and a white one. Or some type. Got those 3 colours. You're in. You need 3 of them in shallow and 3 in deep. Then you've got 6 lures. That's done. That's all you need to get yourself out of trouble, or into trouble. Now, the last I wanted to show you was the skinny profile. Now, skinny profile come out probably double clutch to it first of all.
Yeah.
So double clutch to a great flathead lure, and now ProTech are doing a similar version as well. I'll pass these a couple around. So they're a little bit different actions. So rather than roll, it's a really tight shin, super tight shin. So different action to the fish, and sometimes the flatheads haven't really seen much of that sort of thing. They've only seen little fat ones everywhere going everywhere for the last 20 years. So the skinnier type profile is special double clutch version, and this style got a bit of a cult following, and they work very well.
So how deep do these guys?
They don't go as deep because the profile of the bib's a lot narrower.
Yeah, they might go up to about a metre and a half.
Metre and a half, 2 metres max. Yeah. So control a bigger profile shallow water. That's what I'm getting at. So if the fish are that big on the shallows, you go for something like that. It still doesn't get caught in the weed all the times. It just barely gets to the bottom. That's really in the trolling list.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that too?
No, I don't think so. No.
Yeah. So, actually, that's a really good colour too, in the dark colours. It's actually a composite of both. It's one of those same lures you got in the bag, but in different colour. That's a great colour too. It's a dark with a bit of light on it, so you get sort of a bit of both. So you can probably narrow out one of those three colours and don't do both. So leader wise, look, I don't know about Stewie, but I troll about 12-pound leader when I'm trolling. Only reason being is it gives my little lures plenty of action, it's not too stiff. But I do run a bite trace. So if you get any fish over 70 plus, I guarantee it's going to be right down its throat. And big fish have a real bad tendency in shallow water to do a lot of big head shakes. And if you're dragging, you must run a light drag when you're trolling. So you need to hook up, like Stewie said, set those hooks. But at the same time, as soon as they do a head shake, if you've got your drag too tight, they'll just probably too rough, and that's it's all over. It'll just be nothing.
So what do you use, 40 pound or something?
No, just 20, 16, 20 maybe max. But you just need that little bit of bite trace on the end. Only about that long, 15 centimetres of it. So you get like 2 cuts of changing lures for your retightening it. And just an all right FG, whatever, doesn't matter. All right's fine. So it's right at the end. What do you use?
I fish it a fair bit lighter, so I might use like 3 or 4 pound braid to like an 8 pound leader. I use about an 8, probably about 6 foot of 8 pound, and then I'll just run a little, again, bite leader, but my bite leader's only 12. Yeah. So I think that lighter line definitely makes your lure swim better. Makes it swim deeper as well because there's less drag. Yeah.
So don't run 16-pound leaders straight through.
Okay.
This one swims big.
Yeah.
Run 15 on here.
Yeah. Like you can do it. They'll still swim. You'll still catch a few, but it's probably going to restrict your lure dive into its depth. Yeah. And it'll definitely make that swim a lot more subtle than what it could be. Yeah.
Okay. So that's the leader. Now I didn't bring any up, but I do use on the trolling lures those little fast attach clips. Only because if it's not working, I'll change the colour or I'll change the depth, or whatever it might be, rather than cutting my short bite lead off all the time and then retire it again. I use those fast attach things. They do not disrupt my bite rate at all. Okay, the troll doesn't seem to matter any different. I know Stu does use them. So.
Yeah, I use them a little bit now. Yeah. They work good because I use that much lighter leader as well. Like a lot of the time, it's chafed off. If they do chafe you off, very close to the lure, so they actually hit the teeth where it's good, you know. So you got a little bit of wire out the front of it, and just the way that clips. So
good protection. Yeah. Okay. Brand a leader. Just make sure it's fluorocarbon. Simple as that. It's tough. Okay.
What size clip do you use?
One.
They're the
Yeah,
tiny-
thanks.
so they're the tiny.
Let's go to 0, 1, and 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a 1. So we've got the leader, we've got our clip, we've got our lures. I didn't bring any hooks up, but if you need to change the trebles, because some lures do come with shitty trebles, so generally the right size treble, you cannot change a bigger treble onto a smaller treble. It just wrecks up the swim pattern of the lure. So every lure you buy has been like pre-tuned to suit that size split ring and that size jig hook, treble hook, sorry. So you can change the gauge of the hook a little bit, but you can't change the gape. Does that make sense? Yeah. So a lot of guys put on this YS80 one,
YS81's a barrel hook.
which is the one that the one from the white one.
It's called what? I think it's a Y.
Something, yeah, whatever.
WS77.
Whatever it is, yeah.
Something like that.
So they're a wider profile, so they actually make the hook look twice as big, the same size. So those ones actually have to go down some because it's just too big of a look. But they're great hook up rate. So the shape of this.
The biggest thing with hook size is weight.
Yeah.
So as Dougie was saying, like you might have to just say if it's a really small hook, say it's a big hook, and you want to go like a bigger hook, just because you're missing a few fish or whatever. If it's a fine wide hook, you can go up a size. But if it's a heavy one, like you've got problems with them bending out, you can go down a size in a heavier hook, like a thicker hook. So yeah.
It's a little bit confusing, but you'll notice the difference. You put the wrong hook on, it just doesn't swim. So I've got 3 sizes here. We've got size 2, size 1 and size 0. 0's too bloody hard to put on. Has anyone not used these yet? These fast attachments? Oh, they're really, the duck scouts. They're just on, off. Simple as that. So that's 3 sizes, so you can see the 3 sizes. We've got some customers that like to use 0 on these little tiny lures. I don't believe you need to go that small. I find 2s are a good size if you're casting these big bad boys on their flats. But I use a 1 over there. 1's are around about 14 kilos. And there's no way you can bend that or break it because your line's only 8 pounds or whatever. So 1's enough. Any questions on those?
When you the split ring on your lures, when
Yes.
you use them, do you take that split ring off, or
That's
do
a
you
good
leave
question. So I still tie loop knots on my lures if they don't have a split ring. Screw ties direct all the time, I think.
Nah, hard body I use a loop knot.
Do you?
When I'm casting. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
When you-
I
cast.
don't know.
Yeah.
when you're using these
So
twisty things?
Yeah, so,
when you've got a split ring there.
yeah, that's a good question. And sometimes I have, because if I got the clip on the front of them, some of these lures have like a little clip, safety clip, like a head clip, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Front. So then I'll bypass that and put it directly onto the bib, the loop is. But if it's got a split ring, I put it onto the fast attach. Have you used it?
I always put a fast attach to a split ring. But it's a pain to get it on there, and it's a pain
I'm
to get it
pleased
off.
you said that.
Yeah,
Split ring's
Oh,
quite wide.
because it moves and you
Oh,
try to
no.
get in there. But I just think that it works a lot more free.
Yeah.
You've got like another link in there, you know.
The secret is to actually not open the split ring up, but to use the fast attach system to put on the split ring. So don't actually open the ring up.
Yeah. I'll just pass around these before we go too far along, and you'll see the difference.
Oh, yeah, it's good.
They're all size 6s. So 6s and 8s are probably the 2 sizes you'd use for most of your things. As you can see, the little
You'll see what I mean by
Yeah.
the wide
the
one.
wide one, which is that YW77, they're quite wide, but they're all going to weigh different as well. So that's where it gets hard. Yeah.
On the little lures.
On the little lures. Well, those duo ones would probably be my pick out of them only because they're thinner, so they're going to go in a bit better. But you'll know once you have a look at them. But yeah.
So we've done our lures, we've done our leader, our clip, the braid. So when we're trawling, like I do use some of the Power Pro stuff in 3 and 4 pound,
Yeah.
but it breaks at about 8 or 10. Okay. And I also use the Japanese stuff in like 12 pound, that's 6 pound diameter in most braids, and probably that diameter in that one.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is with braids now, it's getting more and more confusing because we've got stuff on the wall that might be 3 pound and then we might have 16 pound that's thinner. So what do you buy? And you say, well, I'm only chasing flathead, I don't need the 16 pound. But it's getting more important to try to buy off diameter. So there's no rule like 1/2 mil for this or whatever. But if you're going to troll a lot thinner than something that you'd cast, there's less stress on it. You're not always fatiguing the line when you're casting, and you might have 3/8 of an ounce and you really want to hoik it out there. You're going to let the lure out the back, or you're just going to give it a flip because you're moving anyway. There's no sudden jolts or jerks, so it's not really going to break midway through anything. But just as we were saying before, that thinness is just the important thing to make that lure work really good. Just pass around the packet though.
Yeah. I'll pass this to around. So that's 12 pound and that's 4 pound. That 12 pound is much thinner than that 4 pound. This is what Stu's saying, a bit confusing.
Yeah.
We know, but you guys don't know, mate. So the blue one's 12, the other one's 4. And then in leader, in the fluorocarbon branding, most of it is Japanese fluorocarbon, most of it's the same stuff, it's just maybe slightly different coating or whatever it might be. In the nearer ones, most important parts come to different lengths. So some brands are only 20, 30 metres and some brands are 100 metres. So bang for buck, if you do a lot of fishing, always buy the 100 metre one. It's much cheaper. Yeah. Scissors, important tool, cut and braid. Make sure you get scissors that are quite good. The ones you have in the bucket with Rapala on, are still the best, I reckon. Oh, these are There's a better, there's a dearer. Not much dearer. This is a proper piece. This is from Japan. They're $12, $10 to you guys. But any decent is around $10. There are ceramic scissors. Anyone use any ceramic scissors? Here?
Yeah.
You use them? Yeah. The ceramic scissors never ever wear and they don't rust.
God's gift. Just don't drop it.
Is that what?
Yeah.
On the contrary,
Oh,
though.
yeah, on
You
hard
both,
stuff.
you
Bone
both
hard
use
stuff.
that.
Yeah.
But so these are ceramic and they're very, very sharp. They're cut by about half a millimetre. And you wouldn't think it would do that, but it does. So I'll pass this around. And I'll just cut a bit off as it's going around. See how good they are. So there's a few different brands that make it. There's another Japanese company again. But generally speaking, Samaki do them about one as well.
Yeah, so the biggest ones are like this Japanese one, Samaki do one, and Tito do one. Okay. They're kind of the big three players in ceramic scissors, but.
If you buy one pair of ceramic scissors, that's it. I'll just be there with you for 5 years if you don't do this. Just cut like by the millimetre if you want. Actually, I'll just do that. I'll just, you'll probably not lose it. Thank you. Yeah. Okay, play.
My fingers are all arthritic.
Oh, true?
Oh, they're terrible. I've got a lot.
How do you get tying your knots?
A lot with great difficulty with the really thin stuff, but I do.
Yeah, okay.
You take plenty of rods.
Yeah. A couple of little tools in trawling. As you all know, you do catch your little rats, right? And they're really hard. Getting a soft plastic out of their mouth is no problem. They still split the crap out of your hand, but they're not too bad. But when you got two little trebles sitting in there, they're wriggling all over the joint, it's a disaster for getting the treble in your hand, right? So the best tool by far is a gun like that type of thing. Okay, and it's got a little thing on there, and all it does is it grips onto the. You just hold the fish outside the boat. Not going to keep it, of course. Pull on the hook and pull the trigger, and it locks in, and then you just shake it, and it just falls straight off the hook. And the lure's there. Don't touch anything. Just go. That's it. It's like gone. So I suggest you get yourself a little bit to it. Okay. Anyone use these yet?
Yeah, they're good.
They're the best. No spikes, no hooks in your finger. Split ring pliers. So if you do want to change your hook or screws, just pass the hooks around before you want to change your rings over. This is the best little split ring plier on the market. It does, most of them only do like this one here. Pass this around. It does like size 0 to size 00 to 2, which is going to be your flathead size split rings. But if you want one, you do other fishing as well, like tailor and mackerel, whatever. This thing will do from that little tiny red lures going around up to stick baits that size, right? One does everything, which is really hard to find in a split ring plier. Does anyone use grips or not use grips? Grips. You guys all got a pair of those? And you need, but not that, or that style, whatever, cheap one doesn't matter. And it's like, to you guys about $13 or something. It's the gun. So how that works, if you haven't used one before, I'm quite surprised some of you haven't. Every fish you catch before you touch that treble, touch the single hook with the soft plastic, you just hook that into its mouth and then onto the bottom one, not the top. Okay, bottom one, and it just locks it on. And that's it. It doesn't come off. And then you can hold it and work on it and get the tool out, get your pliers or whatever, and get the hooks out. Otherwise, and if you want to release it, you can put it on there, you drop it, hold the water, and it'll start pulling on this, and then you just open up and it'll swim. There's all different ones on the market. These are just cheapy ones. They're not much more, about 10 or 15 bucks. But the good ones are like $60 or whatever. And you get ones that weigh and whatever else. And Skype. That's true. Does that. Now, when you're using hard bodies, some people say they only put scent on soft plastics. We use it on hard bodies too. Has anyone here tried it on hard bodies?
It's cheap.
No, very, very good.
Gosh.
Yeah, Stu likes to What's going on with bait plop?
Hard to get at the moment.
Hard to get at the moment.
Hard to get.
So bait plop's really good as well. I like to use S Factor. So S Factor, and this is the gold one. The gold one's very good, and it's also UV like this one. So when you put it on, we don't see it, but we put a UV torch on it. I'll show you now. I'll turn that light out there, thanks to you.
Got one's good, but it's very sticky.
Yeah, gold's very sticky and gets on your grips of your rods. It's on your hand, it's everywhere. So I'm just going to put a bit of this on my finger here, right? Imagine it's a lure. Put the torch on, thanks Stu. So the torch works. So if I put my hand like that, you can see that. If I put it on today, you can see that better. Is there a difference?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Hard to see maybe. But so UV, the fish see it as a UV. We don't see it, but they do. They see like that lure's like that, but if you put a UV torch on it, sorry Stu, can you see how it lights up? But if I grab another lure that's not UV, but that's not really UV. Okay. But in the natural light it looks the same colour as that one. Orange. But that's UV. So if you see that like in the water, thanks Stu. You don't see it, but they see it. That's how they see a UV lure. Or UV enhanced stuff, whatever it might be. So the sense is UV, so firstly it makes it visible. The lure's not a UV lure, they'll see it like it is here in the dirty water. But it's the smell. We can't smell it, but they can smell it. It smells a bit like really anything. It doesn't have much smell.
It's hard to convince someone who hasn't fished before that it works.
I know,
Yeah.
like, seriously guys, if I'm going to go flatty fish for the day and I've left this at home, I'll go back and get it. If I put the boat in the water, I'll go back and get it. I just feel vulnerable. I was trying to find something out of the waters. But now I've got to stack everything because I can forget sometimes. So I don't lose it. So that's how dependent I am on it. But on my hard bodies, when I put it on, I smear the top of the lure, not the bottom. The bottom's dragging through the bottom all the time. It gets ripped off too easy. So you want the last of it. And I'll find I can go like I can troll from here to the other side of the harbour town, maybe down to the waterfront, if I have to put it back on again. So I can go up and down, slap, before I put it on good on. If you put it underneath, it doesn't last very long.
I always put it underneath.
Yeah? That's why you always get more fish than me.
Because it stays on more because it's in the back end. So if you've got a lure going that way, well, if you've got a lure going that way, it's always got water pressure on the back, under here.
Yeah, cool.
Sweet.
Okay.
And it's not dragging like this along the bottom, it's going like this.
Yeah.
So this ain't touching water.
And the fish is looking up.
Fish is looking up, that's right. Fish sees it looking up.
My hooks have lots of mud and weed on them. It's dragging the
We've got lots of rust on it too, we won't know that.
Let's move on. Okay, so. What else on show? Just pliers. So yeah, Stu likes to use pliers.
I like pliers.
I like it's personal preference. And when you want to hook up your little lure, like a squid jig, if you haven't got a little hook keeper on, just buy a hook keeper and put it on, okay? The hook keeper with the thing at the bottom you hook into. But it just makes life much easier. Because little lures bounce all over the place. You get tangled up when you're travelling in a boat especially. So, I'm just going to draw a little scenario here. Some of you might know what this is and some may not. But doesn't know. Which scenario I use? So let's say we've got a high sandbank here that's out of the water even at high tide. Okay? Those sort of areas don't trawl very well. Okay? You want a bank that at high tide, it's got lots of weed on it and muddy and whatever. And
Generally these type of sandbanks are very hard. I find a lot of fish on them because they can't bury in it.
it's shelly.
They can't wiggle down.
Don't know about it. Yeah. So, and let's just say this is a bit bigger actually, sorry. So if it's high tide or reasonably high, and I can get into here in my boat, just imagine that's about 200 metres by 100 metres. I'll get into there and I'll definitely trawl the edges here and down that edge there and maybe do a couple of laps. When you're in those sinkholes, like Stu said before, sort of thing, there's no real tidal flow in any direction in there because it's sort of floating over the top of the bank and then it sits in there and it falls in it, sort of thing. So it doesn't have to go that way or that way, but you can try and go the other way, if you like mackerel fishing, trawling. They will bite that way better than the other way. Don't know what it is, so you've got to try. If you can do one lap and then maybe a second lap and you haven't caught anything, go back the other way. Okay. Just try it. And then if it's say that's here's 1 metre at high tide, and here's 2 metres. And if there's a bit of weed here in the middle here that you might have seen at a lower tide or whatever, I might even do a run down, just straight down the centre, like that. So you've just got to work out where the fish are. You might find that the bait's all stacked up here, because this is where the wind's hitting, whatever it might be, and you'll get all your hits down there. If that's the case, I'm probably going to put my motor on spot lock and cast it. Because it's hard for me to trawl it, but I know the fish are there. Okay. But once that, and if I can, there might be another little drain at the back here. It goes down this way. There might be another little one here. I may even trawl down there, do a Yuri, come back out. Or if I can get up on this flat with bits of weed patches and sand, I might even get up on top here and have a trawl around here as well. Or cast it, whatever. But once that starts to empty out and the tide's pouring out through here, and this banks here is now quite exposed, and this little patches are starting to get exposed, you have to get out of there, like Stewie said. That's your way in, that's your way out. Then what will happen is some of these fish here will come out here, all these fish that are on these weed patches and whatever, and start to get exposed, they're all going to drop over this edge, and they're all going to sit generally in this vicinity. Okay?
They generally sit on the drop.
On the drop.
Not too many of them, because most of these times it's a pretty gradual drop. You get some that are really steep, but all of this type of stuff, generally it's a gradual drop. They sit on that drop for whatever reason. A lot of the time there's still a little bit of water up here. It's still flowing just over, and it's enough to move little prawns and little bait fish and stuff. They want to eat all that, so their heads might be in 6 inches of water, way up there. So it's pretty important to cast pretty shallow. But if you're going to troll, I always like being on the shallow side, just for that reason. But yeah, Doug wants to go deeper.
Yeah. So let's say the tide is going to go this way. So we'll probably go up there in the boat. There's no fish here, but I'm going to start my trawl here. Put my lures out and come along here. And that edge on my sounder, here's like nearly out of water. But on my sounder, bottom's going to be up on the shallow here. It'll be here, and then it might drop off quite steep, like so. And that might be 0 to say 8 feet. Okay, so here's on this edge here is like 3 feet, and here's 8. I'll probably like to trawl somewhere like this on that edge in about 1.5 to 2 meters. About what you do, Stu?
That's about where I draw it, but you're normally way over here.
My rod's at that side.
15. We have this running thing that every single time we fish a bang, I always draw
Stu
it.
exaggerates a bit.
Nah, it's not. And Dougie, I normally try deeper. We go deeper. So anyway, I thought I'd test this theory. But so anyway, I went out deeper and I said, "How you going, Dougie?" "Yep, good. We're in the spot now. We're going to smack him." And I said, "How deep does your lure dive to?" And he said, "Pretty deep." I said, 3 meters. And he said, "Yeah, 3 meter." And I said, "I know." I said, "We're trolling in 18.5 foot of water. It's not in the bottom." So I went back into 6 foot, 2 fish. That's right. That's right, mate.
That's all right. Well, let's take it away that one. So we're going to keep trawl on here. Now you need to follow the contour. That contour is not going to be a straight line just like that. It doesn't work that way. So you need to, like, you got your rod not go up and down with the shallowness and the weed patches, and at the same time you're driving the boat to follow that edge. You come up, all of a sudden it becomes 2 feet, you gotta go back out a little bit. You know, maybe 1 metre back that way, and we'll be back down to 8 feet again. So you need to work that out. Once you've got your run, then you don't need to worry about the bottom, you just follow the line all the time.
Yeah.
So really important to keep your track on your GPS.
Trolling's very easy, but to do it well and to do all of these little 1% things is the difference between catching, say, 5 fish on a run and maybe 15. Yeah.
We can catch easy 30, 40 fish trawling on a good, when you find a good area patch. It's good to find them. And that's these big banks, and especially if they're not sandy banks, they're more muddy and seaweed banks, they're the best ones to hold fish of all sizes. So you might get 60 or 70, and you might get like 40s. It's mixed, but they were all up on that flat there prior when the tide was high. And these guys would come out of here and here. And I'll sit there, and when the tide starts to come in, it'll be the reverse act. I'll go back up on there once the water gets up there. So as you said before, with that water's draining over that edge, and there's a couple of little drains where it's coming out, a bit more prominent. Coming out those little drains, we'll actually cast those drains. Stop trolling for a minute and we'll cast them. And then once it stops flowing, then might go back trolling again. Because the fish is stacked up in that area. Does that make sense? Yeah. You're probably a lot of this, but like Stu said, 1% of this, 1% allows that to more fish. Yeah. Okay. Anything else on the trolling, Stu? Wind's a pain in the arse. Wind's a pain in the arse. If you got a electric and you say I was a troll with my electric, we never troll.
I was just going to say, never troll with your electric, just use a petrol motor.
Yeah.
Because if you're trolling with the electric, your arse always blows around and stuff like that.
That's when you get the weed.
Yeah.
So
it's just too hard.
It's too hard.
Yeah. Just use your petrol motor, you've got better control.
And believe it or not, I believe that petrol motor attracts the fish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where we get less fish trolling with electrics. Okay, all good? Okay, so deep water, shallow water. Small bib, bigger bib. Small lure, bigger lure. Yeah. Okay, that's all good. Stu, we'll go to casting. No more questions on that little guys? Okay, cool. Casting. So this is Stu's forte. I'm not bad at it, Stu's pretty good.
I used to do heaps and heaps of it. I haven't done much of it in the last couple of years just because I've got steered to other avenues. But look, it's really, really effective, but it's a little bit restrictive in when you can do it. A lot of the time we're casting a lot bigger lure than what we'd troll. So it starts at around about 120 mil, and but something around 130 to 150, 170 is pretty average size.
That's about when you start at something.
Yeah. So why a bit bigger?
That one.
Yeah. So why a bit bigger? You can do it with little stuff. You can throw all of your little trolling hard bodies and you'll still catch plenty of fish. But the way I like to fish this type of thing is you're trying to catch those bigger fish on the school. So you want the little ones to look at it and say, oh yeah, it's too big for me, whatever. They let it go. You don't have to deal with them. They're prickly, they're spiky, and the big 60 centimetre one might come in over an 80 or an 80 or something like that. So the areas that we're fishing is this type of area. So something with scattered weed, bits of sand, yabby holes, that type of thing. There's life there, but it's shallow. So we're fishing at a high tide. So the reason I say it's restrictive is you can't fish that at a low tide because it's out of the water.
You only got like a 2-hour window to really go hard.
Yeah. So generally that last, say the last hour and a half of run in and the first hour of run out. So that's when we'll pull up the trolling lines and we'll go and do this type of stuff. We'll stop throwing little soft plastics and go and throw big stuff and try to catch those couple of trophy fish for the day. Direction of current and wind and stuff like that plays a pretty big part with this. So you'll find that those bigger fish aren't dumb. They've got to that size for a reason. They know where to sit. They know where bait might enter a bank first. And they'll get up there first and wait for it. So all of these little drains along here, it's going to be the last spot to dry, but it's going to be the first to fill. So generally they might go in, and there might be a little bit of a pool, as Dougie referred to it as before, or a bit more of an indent on a bank. Even like a barren yabby flat, like the back of Wave Break Island, it's got a lot of big fish on it. You've got to think about the bait that's going to be there. So generally, whiting, bigger brim, things like that, they're up there foraging, yeah, garies and stuff over the weed edge. But generally, the average size whiting is pretty big. So as we were saying before, it's quite important to try to match your lure size to the bait that's in the area. So that's where that bigger lure kind of plays a part. But yeah, so try to fish those areas that flood first. You can fish. If not, when that tide's higher, there's still going to be an indent there. It's still an ambush point for them. So they can still bury down a little bit deeper. Generally, any little indent's a little bit softer as well. Don't know why, but it just is. But on a featureless bank, say something that doesn't have all of this weed and stuff, all this good stuff hanging around, like the back of Wave Break, for example, a stingray hole is a feature. So they'll sit in that. The sand's softer, it's been worked. If you're walking along at low tide, if you stand in a stingray hole, so you always sink down a little bit. So it's easy for them to sit down.
You'll just see, it's crystal clear water most of the time, so you actually visually see it all happen.
Yeah.
And you got to wear polarized because you often see the big
See the
fish
fish come.
stalking the lure. Very hard happening if it's a real big one. But awesome to see when they hit it. So you will see sometimes the flatties will be just sitting in the sand. We have never. You just see the two eyes, and they don't move. They bury, and you can go to the top of them. They just don't move. They don't know about it. Other times you'll be there and you'll just see them just come up out of the sand, like Stewie said. That you don't even see it there, but all of a sudden it comes up out of the sand. It's a freaking 80 centimetre one. And they're very, very well. They're the flathead lakes you see, as you're saying.
Yeah. I think if you want to learn more about this, like fishing for bigger fish in this shallow water, hard bodies or plastics or whatever you want to do, you need to walk these banks at low tide. You notice those flathead lines, those coffin shapes, and you know where they're sitting. Generally, you see them stagger up or stagger down. So you might see 10 lies on a bank in the area of this room. They might be the same fish, because that's just them feeding, or they're buried there and then the tide's gone out, so they have to drain off, or the tide's coming in, so they're working up. So you learn a lot just by where they're sitting and what way they're facing.
Yeah, where it's facing is what we're saying. It's really important to find out what way they're facing. You then go back on the high tide and cast up in front and bring back towards them.
Yeah.
Don't cast from behind them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cast always at the head end, up to the head end. So,
Yeah. But in terms of lures, like obviously again it depends on the depth. So as well, if we're fishing very shallow water, I might jerk the lure with my rod tip up. If it's deeper, I might jerk it down. You're going to get the most out of that lure. But
that's probably the shell you're going to get.
Yeah, something like that, or like that type of thing. You'll see that the bib on the front's very, very small. So it's not going to dive too deep, if at all. It might dive half a foot, 6 inches.
Glide baits are very similar to that, don't go down much at all.
Yeah.
As do bent minnows. So bent minnows are pretty big there about 3 or 4 years ago. They're slowed down now, but they do work. We've used them and done well, but it's 3 sizes actually too.
Yeah.
That's the smallest.
That's the small. Yeah.
It probably wouldn't cost that much, but.
So surface stuff works quite good when it's that freshly flooded stuff. And particularly if it's a little bit weedy underneath, because you don't want to throw a diving lure because you're going to get weed, it's going to foul up. Something like that can skip over the top, or if it does dive down, it might only dive down that far type of thing. So they'll come up and eat it.
We sell a lot of the Shimano ones, and we've had some really good success on the Flash Boost ones ourselves. And we've been using these for 3 years now, I guess. They are really good. They're very buoyant. And when you pull it, it goes ripping down, and they're very nicely to pop back up again. So a lot of time when I hit that lure, it's actually sitting there doing nothing, or when it backs back up.
Did you see one twitch? Or you erratic, like.
I keep it pretty erratic.
Yeah, we work out a little bit differently. So we take it as first.
Yeah, so I generally
Right, everything's different we do.
Big or
there's one right way, it depends who you ask. Look, generally I try to cast as far as I can, try to cover a bit of area. I wind up the slack, and then I generally just flick it upwards or downwards, but I like to like 1 or 2 whips.
Yep.
Yeah. I wind up the slack. I'm continuously winding up the slack. Yeah.
I'll cast one out, and I'll just sort of just rake a little bit, and I'll sit, and sometimes I'll even just do a little jiggle, so it's sort of dancing on the spot, and take up the slack and just do the same again.
Yeah.
Let it sit, let it pop back up, jiggle, and a lot of times we hit on jiggle. So, when I'm using like a weight bait or a jointed one, my action's pretty constant, so you just want it to keep doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
You might pause for a minute, but when you pause, that sort of like twist around that way. If you just keep it going, it's the best way. Yeah. Using heavier leader, I don't use a bite leader. I just run 20 right through.
Yep.
Yeah. What are you using?
16.
Yeah, upgraded it. From 12.
Bigger fish. But look, generally I use 16, and you also got to use a little bit heavier braid because you're casting that bigger lure. If you try to throw a lure of those sizes on 4 pound, you're going to crack some lures off. So
Especially knots.
yeah, it's good for us, but it's bad for you. Yeah,
Well, not good for us because they float.
well, that's right. Like sailing to the distance generally to where you can't go. But yeah,
So far.
yeah. A lot of these lures do have cast weights as well. So before we were talking about rattles and things like that, but something like that, that's a cast weight.
That's why they're so good. This
Yeah, so when you jerk it or pull it down as well, it's making noise. I like that deeper noise rather than like a real tinny rattle. Yeah.
So Dean that used to work with us, big tall Dean, he's really good at doing this in the fights. He's like the master nearly. And he loves that thud. He believes that thud in the Japanese ones with the sliding casting ball system is what makes Flathead eat it. Don't know, but that's what he's telling me. Yeah. Has anyone ever not done this sort of fishing in the flats? No crack it?
It's good fun. You
Yeah.
catch some good fish on it. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. But you catch a lot of little tiny ones as well, like the lures bigger than.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty ferocious, but
They'll do the same sort of scenarios when we're soft plastic fishing in the deeper water. They'll come straight at you as well a lot of the time. And boats got quite shallow, and sometimes you can go under the boat. So you just got to try and steer them as you're trying to keep up to them. You know what I mean? Yeah. Set those hooks in. But the one thing about these lures is you've got 2 or 3 sets of trebles, and hookup rate's generally better. But important to note that when you've got one on, you can't have that drag in too tight because sometimes you'll feel the hooks pull when they do the head shake. You feel the hook come out and it's like, still got one there. But and size wise, like a couple of years ago, we used to only use that size, like a really big one. You know?
yeah, 170 mils not too big.
So it's not too big. But probably brand wise, Shimano, Duo definitely Tide Minnows, athletes, the Jacksons are really good.
Those Tucker House nodes, they're not a bad one as well. I don't know if we pass one around, but it's a very small bib. They just work.
APs are really good as well.
Yeah.
Again, they've got that same system in them. And most of the Japanese made lures have that system. The casts them off are very easy. And I'm using 20 pound braid on these ones, and even 30, but very thin braid. So P1, P1.5. Any questions on that at all, folks? No? Okay.
So yeah, getting back to it before, like obviously we're using a very light rod for this trolling and stuff like that. This type of thing, you notice the hooks are a lot bigger, a lot thicker, you've got to get the hook in. So we're using a stiffer rod, we're working it more erratically. The stiffer rod's also going to cast that heavier weight. Yeah.
And like fan cast the area, if you don't work out which way they're sitting or the tide's coming, cast into the tide or just bring it back with the tide. And and hopefully the wings allows you to do that same way. It's behind you and go up and pass into the tide. And yeah, I cast it there. But the only time we really do use our electrics a lot is this sort of scenario, and we're always working into the current. So start down the bottom end and work your way up into the current along the edge. Does that make sense? So go to the bottom end of it first and do that. If you got a bank like this bank here, and let's just say now the tide's going the other way, it's going this way. Tide's going this way here. But we'll start right down the bottom down here in the boat and work our way up into the current and cast the bank. If this is just starting to fill up, like Stu said, and I said, there's little gaps here, little drains, little pools in here. Try and cast up into those drains and then bring it back out to the edge. We may even go real close, Stu likes to go really close and cast sort of on that angle, or just do a little short cast on the edge. Sometimes the first twitch you're on straight away. Yeah. And we'll keep working up into that current. Oh, sorry, wrong way. Current's going this way. Sorry, I'm going wrong way. Okay, current's going this way. We're going into the current. So still cast out this way, in those little drains all the way along, doing short casts. When you get up to this opening up here, you may even go inside and cast up on that edge and that edge. And then when you're in here, again, that water's going this way. So it'll be flowing over this edge here on this side, because that's the way the current's going this way. Does that make sense? So we may sit here and cast up onto those edges up there. Depends on how wide it is. Go forward a bit more, hit those edges there on that current edge.
The biggest thing is with flatties and any fishing as well, like you can use this in anything. It doesn't matter if you're off a reef up north chasing GTs or the reef out here catching a snapper. They need current. Like you need some run. It brings life, it brings bait. The fish are swimming, they need to eat. They're going to be hungry. Dead water or stale water, which a lot of the time you find in areas like this, you pull up, there might be a bit of that foamy stuff floating on the top, or a lot of that duckweedy type stuff floating around. I just keep moving now. Doesn't matter if there's bait in the area, generally there's not, but generally if there's all floating stuff, scummy type stuff, it's not really an area where they're going to feed.
Look for ripples.
They've moved on.
Ripples are important. Yeah, look for ripples. Yeah, but once that starts to get too shallow, or then you can obviously get out of there again.
Yeah.
But yeah, just you've got to keep working that into the current. Yeah. And you'll see the flatties too. When the water's really clear, you'll scare some off, but then you'll see them, they'll sort of shoot around and lie again. And then you'll see some just come down from the current, coming down with the current that haven't seen you yet, and then you'll see them spin around and sit in the current. I see that quite a fair bit. Has anyone seen that before? No, you will. I see it. Yeah.
The only other thing is don't overlook anything. As I said before, stingray holes might be one little stick in the middle of a bank. Well, that stick might hold a bit of bait or something for it to hide behind or next to. So little bits of logs and stuff like that might be a singular rock, might sit behind that. Even all of this shallow stuff, we've all done it. We've all tried to take a shortcut when we shouldn't and did make a big trench there. They'll sit in the trench.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. You're the one that jumps in, makes it happen. So,
Yeah, he jumps and knocks
Yeah.
that stuff.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, skims over the top.
Yeah.
But yeah, so look, if you're ever swimming that bank just north of Wave Break, it's all weedy and stuff like that. There's always a lot of prop digs around there. Just have a swim over there, or in clean water, just go along slowly, and you'll notice that flatties do sit in those little trenches left by props. So yeah, it's quite interesting.
The other type of lure you can use is like a surface type lure, like a stick bait type thing. There's a little popper one earlier, a Japanese one. This is another one from Berkeley, but we've also got the M&D prawns downstairs as well. They're very popular for flatties as well. So you're working the surface like a little stick bait and doing the same scenario, just a different style of of lure.
No.
Okay, the other thing we do use suspending lures in deeper water. So we do the same scenario, but in maybe 2 or 3 meters of water. So there's a drop off along an edge, and it might be a mud bank and it goes straight down to 2 meters deep, and there's a bit of a sandy edge along it, might be 4 meters wide and it goes down like 4 meters deep. So we'll use like not deep divers but suspending lures that sink down a little bit or get down a little bit, and we'll just cast along that little narrow strip going up into the current coming towards us, and let your lure sink down a bit and twitch. Same deal, you pull them off there quite often. And this time of year that works really good. Yeah. So give that a crack too. So suspending lure is one that doesn't float; it stays down there in the zone. Okay. Much for that, that's true.
No, I think that's pretty good.
So areas to fish for this, like you need to look for, like I said, that sort of scenario. But if you were going to go out like this weekend's perfect. You got high tide like 6 in the morning. You want to be out there at 5:30, and fish to probably about 7:30 by that time you need to get off the bank or 7 o'clock, 7:30. But perfect time for flatheads. That's really good. Sunday and Monday is definitely the better weather. Saturday's a bit windy. Tomorrow's good. And I'm going to flathead fishing tomorrow. Well done. Where are you off to?
Boats in the water,
Is it?
ready to go.
Very good.
Ready to go.
Okay.
I think, like if you guys want to try a bit of trolling, a bit of this casting, or even if you're into soft plastic stuff, I'd say that every flatty seminar, if you want to learn and focus on one area, because you can easily get distracted. I want to go there, I want to go there, I want to do this, I want to do that. Just go to Crab Island. There's something there for high tide, there's something there for low tide. Generally this time of year, there's always a bit of bait, you will catch fish. Pretty confident.
Heaps of drains.
Yeah. So at high tide, you're fishing up on top of these flats and stuff like that that are exposed. At low tide, all of these fish have got to go somewhere. They're falling off into those little channels and things like that through the guts, and you just fish the edges. Yeah. We've had some awesome sessions there, and like the same thing, you just follow the fish up and follow them down. So
I'll draw a little scenario for you off the top of my head, and then you can sort of figure out where we are. Actually, sorry. I'll downsize it. That's huge. And then green and effort islands is here. And that's the same way. And there's a drain here. So the drains. If you don't know, there's a pool in here, like one of those things we just talked about.
well, there's about 3.
Yeah, there's about 3 in there, but one real
There's
big
one big one.
Yeah. One here and up here as well, and there's another one in here as well. Actually, that one goes all the way down. And this is all deeper water through here. And then this is that shelly area over here that never goes under. You know what that is? Opposite sort of currency sort of thing. Okay, so as Stu said before, when the tide's high,
I think there's a red on that corner there.
there's a red.
There's a red just up here. There might be a red halfway along it here.
Yeah, there's a red. I think.
Yeah, somewhere red. There's a couple of reds along that.
Yeah.
Red buoy there somewhere.
Yeah, there's a floating red down here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's the red here as well. Currents out here something.
Yeah.
But on the high tide, if you were to Get into here and cast all this area through here up against those mangrove roots. You do get snagged up a lot with casting. If you're not good at casting, my suggestion would be cast sandbanks first until you get accurate. Because every cast you do lands on those little cobble pegs from the mangrove roots and the hook just goes straight in. And sometimes too shallow, like Stewie said earlier, pain in the ass. But we've caught some big flatties there over the years. It's a really good spot. There's a drain that comes out down through here, and that drain here, that holds big flatties, and when the tide's running out, so you fish maybe first here because it's high enough tide, right? You'll also get them around this end here as well, on the high tide, but once that tide starts to drop a bit, I'd probably go over because this will start to flow across here, and then it gets too shallow and it then diverts down this drain. But whilst this is here, you can sit on this deeper edge here and cast up onto the flats here, on that area there. Or you can go up to here and whilst this is still underwater, you can just drift down this flat here and cast. You can, that's a troll area. Where else we fish do? Cast that big nose.
That's probably about it. Like, honestly, when it's high,
Oh,
you'll
you
get
can
them,
do it
you'll get them over all of this.
on this edge here as well.
Anything that's
Oh,
covered.
and that drain at the back here. We've got on this side as well.
Yeah.
And that's the Runaway Bay Marina over in here. And your Flathead laser, just along here side. Yeah. But yeah.
I'm there with my telescope. I'm watching all these guys. Fish on.
Then once the tide drops, guys, okay, once the tide drops a bit and you can't fish there, you might want to start to go for a troll. This bank along here is one of my favourite troll areas. I do really well along there. I've done well on this edge here as well. Down to about here. Along there is pretty good as well, and also on the side over here. And over here, where Efron Island is over here somewhere, Efron's over here. Over in that area there is really good as well. And where it goes Efron around the Sovereign, is go up and down in front of Efron there. It's a good spot. Then once the tide gets really low and getting down a fair bit, you can get in here, into here, or into here. This is about the size of probably two car park,
Like
a big footy oval, an AFL oval size, so.
Yeah.
And it's about, in that low tide, you actually stay there and just troll around if they're in there, which happened last year, the photo class, 2 years ago. 3 years ago, was it? And there must have been 10,000 flatties in there. Like, seriously, guys got like 60 or 80 flatties. There were 10 boats sat in the whole load of tide, they locked themselves in there. And they turned around circles and caught like 60 flat each. And most of them won the Flathead Classic. And they were just in there. And so they just go around in circles, trolling the lures. So what we're saying, and they were all over here, but instead of jumping out into the channel here and going out here, they all decided to fall into there. So we keep talking about these sunk holes, they hold so many fish. There's quite a lot of them up the jumping pin area, around sort of tipless area and that. And they just hold big fish, little fish, all size fish. And you can trawl it and you can cast it. Yeah. So as Stewie said, you can spend the whole day there. You can get Sunday morning, get up on the Flathead, cast, over here cast, tide starts to drop, do a bit of trawling on here, drops a bit more, get in there, it's going to be more concentrated, maybe look around in there. I think there was a houseboat there the other day, I'm quite sure there was. One of you get now.
He's moved on.
He's moved on. It's a pain in the ass because he couldn't get that trolley around.
He had about 5 or 6 nights there.
Oh, true. Yeah, right. I don't know how you got in there.
With great difficulty, I reckon.
Yeah, I'd say so, yeah.
He spent one night on his side just behind the green there.
Oh, did you really? Yeah. But because that low tide's about probably 4 foot deep, maybe? 3 foot?
Yeah, I'd say like 2.5 to 3.
Yeah, 2.5 to 3, yeah. Deep enough to catch fish.
So I expect to see more boats in there, fellas.
Yeah.
Actually, there's 5 or 6 out there this morning, round and about.
Is that right? Yeah. I like trawling as a whole area along here and down along here is good too. But once you get out into that area that's fast current and that ripply sand, dugout sand sort of area, you just do not catch flathead in. You get little rats and bar tail, you don't get big ones. It's got to be muddy, weedy, that's what I like. Sandy nut, yeah. Or as Stu said, so back wave break, we've got a big sandy cay and the basin, which may become exposed at low tide, but on high tide it's got a bit of weed and a bit of that muddy stuff on it, but sand right around it. You're going to have some camouflage, is the word for it. Yeah. Does that make sense? So give you an idea about casting hard bodies, how extreme you can go. Like Stewie loves to, and we'll cast plastics too, but you can cast a seaway wall, which is only a strip about as wide as that. And we'll cast that with hard bodies. Because that little strip at high tide, they sit up along that edge, and hard bodies work really well there too. But you get caught up in country, you lose a few hard bodies. Any questions? Anything else for that?
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
So,
So, yes, please.
when you're going with the current, and you were saying like you go like 2 knots.
Maximum.
What if the current's ripping through and then you're going with the current?
Yeah, so with the current's really ripping through, some areas it's really hard to, you've got to go around the corner a bit where it drops off a bit.
Yeah, okay.
You can't really go that super fast current stuff.
Bit of an eddy or something.
But we call it a not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You don't get many fish there.
No.
You spend more time out of gear than in gear.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I got a bit of a clunk.
Yeah.
My motor clunks all the time that way.
That doesn't worry if you knock
Not
it out.
bad for it. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But what you need to do when you go to neutral,
Yeah.
at that point, that's when you rip your rod forward a bit and try and keep it down while both not doing much.
Yeah.
Then when you clunk it in the gear, it's already down and
Yeah.
it keeps going. The
Yeah.
timing's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you drop it back and you're not moving, it doesn't move, it sits in the water.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, cool. Okay, that's good?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Okay, so I think that's about it too. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else we have to add to that. So in combos, as Stu is saying, when we're casting those bigger lures, that's about as light a combo as I would use. We've got a bit heavy ones downstairs, but I just want to.
No, that's downstairs.
They're downstairs. You want to run about a 2,500 would be the smallest reel, up to a 4. Okay. So 3 is very popular, 2.5 is popular, 4 is popular. And the rod needs to be a little bit stiff like this one here that you can cast 20 or 30 gram big lure on it. And able to handle it and set that hook because you're a bit heavier everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about it. You don't need it wide and fast though. Except when it's swim towards you. Yeah. Okay. Stu, that's it?
That's it.
Okay. We're going to do the draw. Okay, you guys have a big chance now.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stu. Thank you.